Welcome viewers. Today we will be discussing on the topic heredity in prokaryotes. Prokaryotes, they are present almost everywhere. Although they are microscopic, but what they lack in size, they complement it in numbers. You will be astonished to know that in a handful of soil, the number of microbes that are present is almost more than the number of human beings that survived in this universe till date. So, microbes are present everywhere, whether it be the snow, whether it be acidic regions, whether it be hot springs, everywhere we will find them. So, they must have something in them that helps them to survive in such harsh environments, and that is their diversity in their genomes. So, let's have a look that prokaryotes were the first organism that emerged on the earth, which is almost 4.5 billion years old. Their existence for such a long duration is responsible for their diversity in their genomes. So, collectively, prokaryote biomass outweighs all eukaryotes combined by at least 10 folds. So, the structural, functional and genetic adaptations actually contribute to prokaryotic success. Most of the prokaryotes are unicellular, although some of them form colonies. Prokaryotes have got varieties of shapes. Let's have a look. They may be spherical, they may be rod-shaped, they may have a spiral structure. Let's have a look on the appearance of life on Earth. You will see that emergence of Earth is 4.5 billion years old, whereas the bacteria or the prokaryotes emerged on Earth some 3.7 million years ago. On the other hand, humans just appeared, so we are pretty younger as compared to those microbes. The three major domains of life are bacteria, archaea and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes account for two of the three domains. So, molecular systematics suggests that archaebacteria are more closely related to eukaryotes and eubacteria are more closely related to prokaryotes. Let's have a look on the comparison of the three domains of life. If we consider the nuclear envelope, then we will see that it is absent in bacteria and archaea, but eukaryotes do have bacterial envelopes. And if I consider the parameter membrane enclosed organelles, which are absent in bacteria and archaea, whereas eukaryotes do have membrane enclosed organelles. Regarding peptidoglycan, it is present only in bacteria, then we will see absent in eukaryotes as well as archaea. Regarding membrane lipids, we will see that bacteria have got unbranched hydrocarbons, whereas archaea have got some branched hydrocarbons and eukarya have got unbranched hydrocarbons. Regarding the status of RNA polymerase, in bacteria we have got only one kind of RNA polymerase, whereas archaea and eukarya have several kinds of RNA polymerases. Regarding initiator amino acid to start the protein synthesis, in case of bacteria it is formyl methionine, in case of archaea and eukarya it is only methionine. Regarding the introns or the non-coding parts of a gene, it is totally absent in case of bacteria, whereas it is present in case of archaea and eukarya. Regarding antibiotic sensitivity, growth inhibits by streptomycin and chloramphenicol, but it is not inhibited by these antibiotics. Now we are coming to the concept of heredity. Heredity means inheritance, the likeliness of the characteristics of the progeny and the parents, means how we look similar to our parents is the concept of heredity, means what we are procuring from our parents, and variation is basically the difference between the progeny and the parent. Now the question arises, which are the factors that are responsible for this variation? Number one is heritable variation, and the responsible factor is the genetic substance that undergoes a change. And the second important factor is a non-heritable variation, and that is the environmental changes. So, the unit of heredity is DNA. The prokaryotic genome basically comprises of a single circular DNA molecule which is included in the nucleoid region, which is an unbounded by a membrane, means it is devoid of membrane. Many species also possesses certain separate rings of DNA called plasmids. We'll discuss about them later on. So, you can see here that the typical prokaryotic genome is a ring of DNA that is not surrounded by a membrane and that is located in a nucleoid region. So, the characteristics of prokaryotes and eukaryotic chromosomes. In prokaryotic, chromosomes are organized in the nucleoid, as I said just now, whereas the eukaryotic genome is present in the nucleus, which has got a membranous envelope. The chromosome usually in prokaryotes is circular, whereas in eukaryotes it is linear. The length of the genome is almost 1.5 millimeter in length in case of prokaryotes. On the other hand, it is almost hundreds of millimeters in length in case of eukaryotes. We have got 4,300 genes in E. coli. On the other hand, in eukaryotes, we have got at least 35,000 genes. Here, very little protein is present which is attached to the DNA. On the other hand, there exists histone proteins which are attached to the DNA in case of eukaryotes. Here, as I said, we have got only single copy of the genome, so there is no question of dominance or recessiveness. It means the prokaryotes don't follow Mendelian genetics. As we know that eukaryotes follow Mendelian genetics because they have got two copies of a gene. So, there comes the question of recessiveness or dominance. In case of prokaryotes, we all know that they are devoid of introns, whereas eukaryotes do have introns. Then it replicates just prior to binary fission. Binary fission is the method for cell division and it replicates just prior to mitosis. So, eukaryotes replicate prior to mitosis, and single or multiple replication origins are present in prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, only multiple replication origins are available. Now, we will see that the size of the genome is 1.5 millimeter, but the size of the bacteria is 1 or 2 microns. So, in this such a small space, how such a big genome can be packaged? It means there needs to be compacting the DNA. So, who is going to bring the compactness in the DNA? And that is done taking help of folding of the DNA or winding of the DNA, taking help of certain nucleoid proteins, and that is the involvement of supercoiling in the DNA. As you can see here, that DNA is wound around the proteins, and these proteins are called nucleoid proteins. And this loop domain structure of bacterial chromosomes are very well known nowadays. So, you can see here that how the relaxed covalently closed circular DNA is getting converted into relaxed nicked circular DNA. On the other hand, if we rotate one end of the broken strand about the helix, then we will get a supercoiled circular DNA. This is the structure of a chromosome with supercoiled domains. This double-stranded DNA in the bacterial chromosome is arranged in several supercoiled domains. This is how we have seen that they have got a nucleoid structure which bears the genetic material. But as I said that they have got tremendous diversity in their genomes, but they don't follow Mendelian genetics. Then how this diversity they are acquiring? By means of certain other means they opt for certain other methods other than their own genomic DNA. And these three important components are the virus genomes, specifically the bacteriophages, the plasmids and the transposable genetic elements. So, to start with bacteriophages, as I said that bacteria are present everywhere, and so bacteriophages that can infect bacteria are also present everywhere. So, once they get hold of their favorite host bacteria, they introduce their genomes inside the bacteria. See how they introduce their genomes? They have got an icosahedral head with a tail, and they have got a protein component, and their genetic material is being injected inside the bacterial cell. And once the bacteria receives the viral genome, it can go for two different pathways. Either the bacteriophage goes to the lytic pathway, means it replicates its own genome, makes multiple copies of its genome and comes out of the cell by lysing the bacteria. On the other hand, if it undergoes a lysogenic mode, then what it will do? It will introduce its genome inside the bacterial genome. And what the bacteria gets? Sometimes bacteria receives many important genes. Some virulent genes are being procured by the bacteria by means of bacteriophage infection. So, you can see here that how the horizontal gene transfer mechanism is responsible for transfer of gene from one bacteria to other. Some virulence genes or resistance genes get transferred in this method. So, let us have a look on the three different methods of gene transfer in bacteria. Number one is bacterial transformation, wherein we will see that the DNA of a dying bacteria is getting transferred or getting introduced inside a new bacteria, wherein they will undergo the method of recombination leading to gene exchange. This is a method of horizontal gene transfer, unlike the vertical gene transfer. Second important method is by bacterial transduction, wherein bacteriophages are responsible for gene transfer, as I discussed just now. And the third method is called bacterial conjugation, wherein the bacteria may receive a plasmid which can be transferred from one bacteria called donor to the recipient bacteria. Now, as I said, the second important method to procure diversity in their genomes is the plasmids. What are plasmids? They are mostly covalently closed circular DNA capable of autonomous replication. So, you can see here that how a F plasmid is responsible for making pilus, and through this pilus the F plasmid is getting transferred from the donor bacteria to the recipient bacteria. So, in this method the recipient bacteria may receive some new genes via the method of conjugation. Now, in case of resistance plasmids, you may see that it may contain resistance genes against many antibiotics. So, if a bacteria receives such an resistance plasmid, then it will start showing resistance towards various antibiotics. How it shows resistance? Sometimes it codes for certain enzymes that inactivates the enzyme. Sometimes it may code for a efflux pump that is responsible for extrusion of the antibiotic. Sometimes it may synthesize certain enzymes that degrade the antibiotics. So, this is how an plasmid bearing antibiotic resistance gene gets entry inside a bacterial cell by methods of either conjugation or transformation, and this leads to genetic alteration in the bacteria, which makes the bacteria live much more suitably in this harsh universe. So, the plasmids sometimes code for certain virulence genes, means normally the bacteria may have been a good one that was not a virulent one. So, if it procures a plasmid which bears a virulence gene, then a non-pathogenic bacteria gets converted into a pathogenic one. We have also seen the existence of call plasmids which are being procured by bacteria as a safety measure to protect itself against the bacteria which are its near neighbors. The third important component by which a bacteria brings diversity in their genomes is the transposable genetic elements. They comprise almost 40% of their genomic DNA. What are they? They are specific sequences of the DNA and are found in the genomes in many kinds of organisms. They are structurally and functionally very diverse. How they play their roles? Bacterial transposons move within and between the chromosomes and plasmids. They are extracircular chromosomal structures which are present in the bacterial cell. They contain and spread of antibiotic resistance gene is being spreaded taking help of transposable genetic elements. So, bacterial transposons can again be categorized into three different categories. Number one is called insertion sequences or IS elements. Second one is called composite transposons, and the third one is called TN3 elements. What are insertion sequences? That are the simplest bacterial transposons. They are very small DNA fragments. They were first detected in certain lac- gene mutations in E. coli. So, insertion elements are compactly organized, say almost 2500 base pairs, and contain only those genes whose products are involved in the process of transposition. Inverted terminal repeats are found at their ends. Some IS elements encodes for transposase. So, you can have a look into a transposable insertion element. Say it comprises of terminal inverted repeats and it leads to the target site duplication. How it occurs? You can see here that the site wherein the IS element got introduced, after the introduction of the IS element, we will see that the target site gets replicated. Next is multiple IS elements. The bacterial chromosomes may contain several copies of an IS element. Plasmids may also contain IS elements. When a particular IS element is found on both a plasmid and a chromosome, homologous recombination between them takes place. So, next we are coming to composite transposons. Composite transposons are bacterial cut and paste transposons. They are denoted by the symbol Tn and are created when two IS elements insert near each other. So, unlike IS elements, here we have got two IS elements in a composite transposon. So, see here that in between two IS elements there exists antibiotic resistance genes which are getting transferred onto the bacterial chromosomes by means of transposition. Then we have said that composite transposons consists of two IS elements flanking a region that contains one or more genes for antibiotic resistance. And finally, the TN3 elements. What are they? TN3 elements are larger than the IS elements. TN3 elements, like composite transposons, contain genes that are not required for transposition. TN3 elements have simple inverted repeats at each end, right? Not IS elements. TN3 elements produce target site duplication when they transpose. So, genetic organization of TN3, you can see here that transposase gene is there, then we have got resolvase gene, then we have got resistance gene is also there. In today's lecture on heredity in prokaryotes, we have realized that the prokaryotes are existing in this universe in a vast way. They may be smaller in their sizes, they may be microscopic, but their size they are complementing or by their huge numbers. And they were the first organisms that emerged on this universe some 3.7 billion years ago. And they are still existing in this universe because of diversity in their genomes. We have gone through that the diversity is procured not only by their own genetic material which exists as nucleoid structures, rather they procure diversity in their genomes by means of horizontal gene transfer. And plasmids, bacteriophages and really transposable genetic elements have helped them a lot to bring diversity in their genomes. So, these are the important aspects of heredity in prokaryotes. Thank you.